How's it going, folks? Welcome to another edition of the Coach's Corner, live here at Benchwarmers Restaurant and Delivery. I'm your host, Nate Mullins. I'm joined with the Wizard, Greg Kinn, on the ones and twos. We are live here at Benchwarmers Restaurant and Delivery. This show is brought to you by our friends at Xcaret Mexican Restaurant, your legacy Federal Credit Union, Drawn to the Surface Tattoo and Piercing Studio, as well as our friends here at Benchwarmers Restaurant and Delivery. Joining me this week is our special guest, Calvert Senecas head football coach, Mike Lento. How are we doing, Coach?
Good, man. Appreciate you being here and all you guys do again for our athletes, our schools. Any chance we can get out and talk about them, I'll do that, all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're one of my favorite interviews that we've been doing this for how long? We've been interviewing each other. I mean, about 7, 8 years now?
I would say we have 7, 8 years.
B-Dubs days?
Yep, B-Dubs days.
All the way back out in,
yep.
I mean,
when I was at
back in the radio.
Yep.
And even back in those days, man, one of my favorite things about you is I don't have to really prep too many questions. I can just kind of, about 4 or 5 questions, and I just let you roll, and you just go.
Yep. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I was up there with Chase Bachman for W2L just last week or a couple of Sundays ago, and he was like, this is probably the longest interview I had with a coach. And he goes, I didn't even have to ask questions. It was awesome. So I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I just, maybe I'm full hot air, but just love to talk about our kids or just the journey that we've been on.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we get into the questions, I got a lot of stuff to talk about here with you, but I want to talk about this T-Mobile 5G thing you got going on. So
absolutely.
Just a little chance to kind of like put it out there, promote yourself, promote the team, and promote the school.
Yeah, probably hashtag this interview and then maybe get Greggy to take a picture of us so we can use it as a picture. But, it was this summer. Probably in June, we got an email. It says T-Mobile Friday Night Lights. I kind of watched the promo video on the school that won, and I'm like, okay, watching it and going through it, and let's register early for it, and so I don't forget about it because I'm busy, and it was just tell your story. And so there's a lot of teams I think that do it, that need to either redo stands, redo turf, maybe update lighting, maybe get a scoreboard, update some facilities, and I'm like, man, very grateful for all the relationships we have in the community to be able to use, whether it be Frost Cownell or, down at Heidelberg and Hyman Field, and, just very grateful for that. But there's still just something different about having your own, all right, in that aspect of it. And then I'm thinking through this process and going, because what maybe behind the scenes is when I came to Calvert, I got a quote from Maumee Bay Turf to do turf on the baseball field and the football field. Because where we practice, no matter where we're at, we're either tearing up left field or we're tearing up right field of the baseball field. All right, and I'm an all-in type of a guy. I'm like, this is just unfair to baseball of what we do in the fall to get it ready to go for the spring. And it's kind of it's that maturation process that happens every single year. So would it be cool to just get it all turfed, and so nobody has to worry about tearing anything up? So that's in my head. So I'm going to write a story about just our century-long program of many coaches and many players that were there before me or any of our guys that get there. But then also, leaving that legacy, for the future.
Yeah.
Right, in that aspect of it. And so wrote this story, 500-word essay out, and was lucky enough to be a recipient of the first $5,000, I guess I wouldn't say grab, but just award in that aspect of it. And it comes down to just when people are at games and when whether it be volleyball, whether it be cheerleading or band, and just hashtagging, FN 5GL, so Friday Night 5G Lights, hashtag T-Mobile, hashtag sweepstakes, just to kind of keep your name in the running and what you're doing and that culture that we're building and just the support that we get from the community. So I think the next round, and I'm bad at this because I don't even know what we're doing. We're just going through the flow.
I'm just going with it.
It is $25,000, and then the final winner is a $1 million winner. So
you want to? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. You want to repeat the hashtags again? I want to see if I can get them put up.
Yeah. So it's hashtag FN 5GL. So Friday Night 5G Lights, hashtag T-Mobile, #sweepstakes. And then you got Gronkowski. All right, that's involved with it.
Big Gronk.
Big Gronk. And then Patrick Mahomes isn't kind of involved this year with those two guys promoting the T-Mobile stuff. So
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's neat. And really it was, I'm a visionary. I know where we're going, and it takes a process to get there.
Yeah.
But had Paul, who was our representative from T-Mobile, he's from Perrysburg, and he's like, wow, what a great community. When it happened, we call it the Seneca Skull Session of, maybe we can have you guys come out and do, see one of our skull sessions, 20 minutes of just a community pep rally, and that kind of started with my wife last year. When our girls were getting ready to go to the state championship for cheerleading, and I went to the showcase because we couldn't go down for the actual the championship meet. And Dee's like, I don't know all the cheers. When I'm sitting in the stands, it'd be cool to be taught the cheers.
Yeah,
it'd be cool. And I'm like, at halftime, I don't get to watch, or our boys don't get to watch our band perform.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of what we do.
It is.
That's a big part of the pageantry process of just Friday night football or high school football. And so we all work together, and we're definitely at a small school. And so how do we continue to get our students to work together, our faculty to work together, and everything that we do? And so I was like, when I pitched it to Dr. Marinas, I'm like, hey, why don't we do a skull session? He's like, that's awesome. And it went from like, maybe we could do it on a Friday. I'm like, it's just hard to get all working pieces to do it on a Friday night like Ohio State does it, right? Because I'm like, why do we call it a skull session? You know how many people don't know that the Ohio State skull session is actually a thing? They're like, are we sure we should be calling it a skull session? I'm like, I don't know, let's take it from Ohio State, right, and what they do. And so we started like, let's just kind of do a few throughout the year and see what it looks like to celebrate our students. And it's not the football team, right? It's about all the pieces that go in with Friday, all right? The cheerleaders, the fans, and that piece. And hey, when the cheerleaders chanting "Go Blue," right? We get our stands involved, and not just for football, but through basketball, through volleyball, everything we do. And I really enjoyed my high school experience, and I was one of the student section leaders, and just having a rowdy, positive a student section. And so there's a building process to that. And so we had it a couple weeks ago, and it just happened that it was the day that Paul wanted to come up and present the check, and it worked out great for us. But so we're pushing for that. We're making that piece happen. Would be very, very blessed. Be great for us, for our community, to do that. And there's a lot of people that would be able to benefit from that. And it's been 100 years of Calvert football of just not having their own home, or our own home now. And there's just something special about that piece.
For real. That's a great point. And that's something that I think a lot of people around here have kind of maybe thought it's kind of an afterthought, like that. A lot of people don't even entertain the thought, but you're, not only stepping forward, but you're leading the charge.
Yeah.
Like, this is cool. I'm really excited. I just wanted to give you a chance to kind of talk about it, because I thought it was really cool.
Appreciate it. Why not give ourselves a chance?
Absolutely.
If you don't try, you're never going to get it. So,
what is it? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take?
That's right.
Something like that?
Yeah.
All right, Coach. So let's talk a little football now. So we talked a little bit before the season. You said these first 4 weeks were going to really be a test of your team's mental resolve. You weren't lying.
Yeah, when you look at it, just as far as what everybody's got coming back, all right, and Coach Daniels and what he's done with Mohawk for the last year, and where they're at right now is phenomenal. Monroeville's made that turn with Coach Nestor, and Coach Daugherty's done a great job, at St. Paul to continue what Livingood's done and just keeping that tradition going. And actually, they probably have. At least at D7, if not D7, D6, a quarterback that I haven't seen be able to throw an out route from the opposite hash to the sideline as well as he does. And he's a tall drink of water, 6'4", tough to bring down. But we knew that going in. And I told the kid, I go, he's every bit of. And this is maybe I'm promoting him, but guys, he's every bit of a D2 quarterback that any local D2. Schools that want to go after him, he's a scholarship type kid, when you look at that piece. And then Hopewell, Coach Kodge has done a great job. They've got their system. Their system's working. Maybe a lot of people don't want me to say this, but I was telling you this before. This is a darn good Hopewell team. You've got Braylon Martinez and a couple of those guys that have left last year, but they did a great job of filling those gaps, and I don't even know if they have any gaps. Right, and so you can't make mistakes, and we made a lot of them early, and when you do that, it gets out of hand early, and but it's a mental resolve piece, right? And so we're continuing to build. We're continuing to coach hard. We changed some things up at practice, and not because we had anything wrong, but we just got to get a competition going to finish out these last 6 games. It's crazy that we're at week 5 already, but our goals are on the table. I still feel like we are further along right now going into week 5 than we were last year. And the record may not show that, right? But we continue to talk to the kids about that. But now it's that mental fortitude. Yeah. Now it's that leadership. Now it's like buying into brotherhood and family. And what does that really mean to play for each other? And so we're bringing some old school guys in to continue to talk about that. We're continuing to bring in that personal development piece with it. But we've got to get gritty. We got to get physical between the whistles. We've got to limit our mistakes, and we have to get consistent in strings, right? We've got to sustain drives. Defensively, we got to stop drives, and we get the ball in the red zone. We got to put points up, and we've shown that we can put points up.
Yeah.
All right, but we've got to do it week in and week out now.
Now, you look back at that Monroeville game, you talk about you put points on the board, 35 points on the board in that game. There were a lot of positives. I mean, you won all 3 phases of that game, offense, defense, special teams. Now, and you really controlled the line of scrimmage in that one. Mm-hmm. What do you think you did differently in that game compared to the other ones? I mean, what is it that stood out to you about that game?
Our guys came out with fire in their belly. They believed in each other. They believed in the process of what we were going to do. And they that was probably the first week that we really got on them and just really coached a little bit harder because they deserve that. Sometimes guys are like, you're getting on us and you're yelling at us, and it's not about yelling at them, right? And so, but they deserve that. They deserve to be coached to the point to where you almost want to break. And then, we tell them all the time, like, if we're not coaching you up, that's when you got to be worried, right? Then we're going to find the next guy, all those pieces. But we continue to coach hard. We continue to put work as coaches, right, in the coach's office. 2 to 3 hours, putting pieces together, game planning. And we talked about to the guys, like, listen, we can't go play the game anymore. Yeah. And so, now it comes down to week in and week out having that belief that they're going to be able to do it for each other, having that belief that there's going to be things that don't go right in a Friday night game. And that's just a process. But can you weather the storm? And we weathered the storm in that Monroeville game. Now, I don't think we finished very well in the fourth quarter. We didn't finish very well against St. Paul. So if we go out and we finish that, right, does it look differently? So that's what we're doing in practice. And, we're competing. We're scrimmaging in practice. This week we've put best on best. And we start and finish with situational live scrimmages. We're splitting up who would be kind of our starters and whatnot. One, to find individuals who we can get in rotation. And number 2 is when push comes to shove, who's going to pick each other up and really execute it. And it's been a great 2 days to make that happen. We like what we see as coaches, and we're going to continue to do that.
So I want to talk about turnover department is kind of where I look to see where a team's at. I gauge where are you at in the turnover department. Right now you're -2. Last year you finished at +7. How do you get that back on the right track? What do you think has led to the swing, and how do you get that back to where you want it?
We have to make sure we control bad plays. What I mean by saying control bad plays, if things break down, can we get to the next play? Not make any an extra effort that's going to get us to fumble the ball, not make anything extra to where we're going to throw across our body and try and create something that shouldn't be there just to be able to get to the next play. And we haven't done that very well the last 2 weeks. So we got to figure that piece out. Our guys are in the right place to be where they're at, but they have to make sure they continue to take the coaching, and take that leadership and just get better. I mean, it sounds cliche, but get better with that. But just really understand is just let the game come to you. Right, in that aspect of it, and it's not just one guy; it's all of us. And then we've got to take advantages when the ball's on the ground. We have to take advantages when the ball's in the air to get hungry and go after the ball, so we can get some turnovers into our pocket, right? To get what I call big Mo, right? Big momentum on our side.
That's right. You want Uncle Mo on your sideline. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Now I want to talk about your run game. You had a big 1,500-yard hole after Hoernemann left last year. You got a couple of guys up front that you lost, but I felt like your line had some guys coming back this year, and I really felt like your run game was going to be a strong point of this team. Now, it hasn't gotten on track yet, but what do you need to do differently over these next 6 weeks to kind of unlock that part of your offense?
No, we have to sustain what we're doing. We've got to get a little bit more nasty between the whistles, wanting to finish blocks, and just taking care of that first level. If we take care of the first level, and we did that against Monroe, we took care of the first level, then we'll climb to the second level. But we got to get our backs, continue to run hard, and that's part of coaching. That I could take back. Maybe I could get a couple other guys in there to give. We got a sign falling down.
I knew it was coming
it's
sooner
all right.
or later.
It's all right. But to get Noel Lee some breaks, so where he's fresh all along, So we might see that here in the future, this week and into the following weeks of just getting a better rotation, right? And so we talked about that as a staff to make that happen. But again, we did a great job against I feel as a very, very good front of Monroeville.
Yeah. Right.
And there was glimpses of that against St. Paul, but we just can't have glimpses. We have to have consistency of what we do. And our line right now is grading out better than what they did last year. It's just now kind of fine-tuning at the piece, continue to go through that process, and very, very blessed right now that we've got 6 games ahead of us to continue to put those pieces together. Like I said, I'm glad we're figuring ourselves out now.
Yeah.
After week 4, then if it's week 7 and having our chance ourselves to get into the playoffs and trying to figure things out then. So, hopefully down the stretch, it pays off dividends.
So we talked about the run game. Now I want to talk about your run defense, because I feel like those two elements are really indicative of success in high school football, whether you can run the ball, whether you can stop the run. This year, the run defense hasn't been as good as it was last year. You've given up about 180 yards a game, 3 touchdowns. So what are some things that you can do to button this up over the next couple of weeks, kind of get back to what you're known for? Because I feel like last year you had a really good run defense, and that was kind of something that you could hang your hat on.
We have to rally to the football, right? Get all 11 hands to the football. We've got to make sure we come to balance when we're making tackles. Right now we're kind of picking sides, and so our first guy to the ball is always trying to make that big hit or make the tackle, where we just need you to get to where you need to be, right? Play that leverage, get contact on the ball carrier, but know that you might not be the guy that makes a tackle. And I just need you to get the guy. We just need you as a staff to get that guy, slow it up, get him turned back inside, and then now we have to have other guys rallying to the football.
Yeah.
And that's a big piece. And we've got to get our guys up front demanding double teams. We've got to get pressure to the quarterback, and then so we can get some of our linebackers, running free, and then we can get our safeties running free. And so in our defense, it's not unlikely for our safeties to have a lot of tackles because of what we do up front. We just gotta clean that up. It's not terrible. It's not terrible what we're doing offensively. There's some things that we can fix, right? And there's some play calls. You go back as coaches because you do something different, but we just have to continue to do that. Now, again, not to slight, we've played some very good teams. I think we're still a darn good football team, but we have to clean those things up to be able to make sure we're in the game in the fourth quarter at the end of these games for the next 6.
Absolutely. That's a great point. Now I want to talk about a couple of your players here before we we'll take a quick break, but I want to talk about a couple players in specific. Tucker Coleman taking over in that Carter Wolf role. It's kind of like, I think that's a great fit for him. Now, what do you think you can do to get him some more touches on offense, take advantage of some of his abilities? Because I really feel like he's a game breaker.
Yeah, we're looking at that. We still like where we're at as a coaching staff and making the decision what we did. But again, you got guys in new positions, and so just really understanding what we do, understanding that process, understanding the simple thing is we need to fight for 3 yards. That's what we need to fight for. We did that against Monroeville, and that's what we focus on. Just fight for 3 yards, and then things will happen. Things will break open. Somebody will get a good big play. All those things, and it's crazy when you look at it. I feel like Charlie and Tucker find each other on the field.
Yeah,
right? or Charlie finds Tucker. Right, and so we got to continue to look at those pieces, but it comes down to we got to make sure we're running the ball, right? Yeah. How things set up with our offense is, get some runs and then spread them out. All right, so we got to find those pieces, but yeah. Tucker is a big sophomore tight end.
Yeah, he is. He's a game breaker. Like I said, I'd like to see him get some more touches in that role.
Speaking of Gronk, he can end up being that guy, but he's going to get more physical and understand that piece, and we got to get him in there blocking a little bit more, and and we'll do those pieces. But he's been a big piece, and and again, it's a way to get our best 11 on the field
for sure. One of your best 11, one of your best out of the 11. I mean, talk about Logan DeMoss. So dynamic, offense, defense, special teams. But I want to talk about his defense. Last year, he led the team in tackles, over 100 tackles. This year, he's got 48 through 4 games. Obviously, he's a big play waiting to happen at all times, but just talk about his impact on the game and just his leadership.
I'm glad 10 plays for us.
Yeah.
For sure. And that's a piece. But, we talked to our team about it this week a little bit, and, not to keep, I would say, talking about DeMoss, but his play is been phenomenal. He's playing like a senior. It's his senior year. I'm not going to get into just his story, but his story is impactful, and we talked about that a little bit as a team. Just in the locker room about what family means, and a lot of these guys are his family, whether we want to admit that or not. And he may not say I love you to a guy or things of that nature, but his play is showing that in that aspect of it. And so, again, it's those conversations that we're having, as a team. But he gives it your all.
Yeah.
He's a game breaker. He's electrifying.
He leaves it all on the field.
The easiest way to do it, and and not discrediting any one of our other guys that do that, but if they can find that switch, there's some special things that can happen.
Yeah, for sure. Now, just real quick before we take a break, Charlie, you talk about he took over for Tucker after the offseason. He earned that spot. Now, we've seen what he can do when he's got some time. What do you need to do in order to kind of keep him from seeing so many hits? Because I feel like he's getting hit a little bit too many times, and if he could just kind of get a little bit more time to see the field, boy, I'd like to see what this offense looks like.
Well, we can say this because we've talked about this to him. And I think sometimes we're rushing out of the pocket when the pocket's fantastic. So we put ourselves in a situation where I'm kind of running and throwing, and I don't need to be out the pocket. I can be in the pocket, maybe see some things and go forward. But he's our gamer. And so we know that that's our guy, and we're going to continue to coach him up. We're not going to throw the white flag on him yet. We're going to create some competition with that piece. But it's those, as you get the flow of the season, as you get the flow of Friday nights. And so what we forget about, he's in a big position, kind of like what Tucker was last year. Now we're asking him to do a little more things than what we did with Tucker because of just some of the guys we have around him to make that happen. But again, just make sure you stay within the game. Let the game come to you. Don't force things, And so we'll see some great things that he's able to do, and that's why he's there.
Yeah.
And we want that moxie there. He's got a nice little moxie. We got to make sure we control that moxie a little bit, and just have the game be within itself. And special things will happen because I think sometimes we force a little bit too much. And the reason why I'm able to say that right now is because we've talked to him about it. And so, and that's when you talk about grit, when you talk about competition, when you talk about all those things, that's how we're coaching our kids.
Yeah, and I mean, it shows up on the football field with a lot of these kids. They're leaving it all out there. You got a lot of kids that just
absolutely
they bleed blue.
Yep.
And this is one more thing I want to talk about before we take a break here. New helmets this year.
Yeah.
What inspired this change?
So I was walking in the locker room and I said, the last team, that probably was just gritty and tough and different things, and you got Coach Bogger on your staff, and that '99 team. There's some pictures up on the wall. When they walked off the bus, man, people were scared of them. When they warmed up, they knew that they're going to win. And, I wanted to kind of go, I'm an old school guy. Let's go back to that old school look with that, but kind of have that little story behind it. And, it's something we got to talk about a little bit more of why we went to this and where we're at with it and continue to build upon it. But that's not to discredit, any coaches that have been there. But, when I played against, Calvert when I was at St. Joe, man, these guys come out in these silver helmets, man, and they'd come out and they were whipping your butt and different things, and I tried everything I could do to beat them, and then finally, my senior year I got that opportunity, and he didn't take it lightly. So that's the piece, when we walk out, head in the war room, and I just saw that, and how do you attach yourself to something? How do you do that? And again, you're 1-3. Doesn't feel like that right now, but there's still a lot of season left to play, and we're gonna lock in and do that. And we're coaching them hard, and we got guys that are doing it. And we're gonna continue to bring that stories in of what that looks like. What is family? What is grit? What is playing through toughness? What is being able to respond to it? And what it's like to have, the locker room experience of having the family when, there's people that doubt what we're doing, right? And that's just natural, right? It comes with the territory. It is what it is.
Yeah, you're gonna have
this a long time, right? But really, it's not sheltering the kids from it, but it's getting them to understand that they're the ones that are going to build us through this.
Yeah, absolutely right, Coach.
Yeah, except for the next time you make a helmet change, I better be the first person to know about it. Got me out here looking like a fool week one with blue helmet graphics. What is it? Never again.
You guys had like 5 or 6 helmet graphics out there. I like.
Yeah, we were doing alternates. We were trying to figure out, hey, what's some different ideas?
I got a guy that can do me alternates. I figured out how these alternates work. So don't be surprised in the future. I figured out how to do these alternates because I found out how Oregon and all these schools do this. So I got a guy down in Florida that can hook me up.
All right. Well, keep your eyes peeled, folks. Might be Oregon and Ohio going on here at Calvert in the next couple of years. But we're going to take a quick step aside, timeout, but we'll be back. We got more. We will break down this game against Lakota coming up this Friday. But, folks, don't go anywhere. The Coach's Corner is brought to you by our friends at Xcaret Mexican Restaurant, Your Legacy Federal Credit Union, Drawn to the Surface Tattoo and Piercing Studio, as well as our friends here at Benchwarmers Restaurant and Delivery. Still plenty of time to come on out here and join us. They close at 9. Plenty of time to get your order in. Call it in. Dine in, pick up, or delivery. Benchwarmers Restaurant and Delivery. We're right here. We'll be back after this. You're watching Heart of Ohio Sports. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Heart of Ohio Sports.
My stomach is messed up.
The game's almost over. Can't you wait?
No, I gotta go right now.
Wow, really?
Swung on, hit to center, well hit. Back, and this one's gone. A home run for Connor
man.
Moyer on an 0-2
Needed
pitch.
that.
Smokes it to dead center. That's
Oh,
probably at least
man, are you
360.
kidding me?
It happens. Never miss a moment. Heart of Ohio Sports. Stop down to Benchwarmers in Tiffin or call it in for delivery. Fresh cut fries, locally sourced ingredients, and phenomenal service. Give the Tiffin store a call at 567-268-9268 and place your delivery order now. Benchwarmers Restaurant and Delivery.
Welcome to your Legacy Federal Credit Union, your trusted community credit union for over 70 years. We're not just a credit union, we're your personal financial counselor. Your Legacy Federal Credit Union is a full-service financial institution tailoring solutions to your needs. Whether it's your first home or planning for the future, we're here to help you find success. Your Legacy Federal Credit Union, a legacy built on trust, commitment, and community.
Your legacy.
You're locked into the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. Heart of Ohio Sports. All right, we're back here at Benchwarmers Restaurant and Delivery. I'm Nate Mullins, joined with Greg the Wizard Kinn on the ones and twos, and we are here with Coach Mike Lento.
Appreciate it.
We're here to talk about this matchup this Friday with the Lakota Raiders. Now, Coach, we'll put that loss last week behind us. That's in the past. Now we're on to Lakota. Student comes to face the teacher. Protege facing the mastermind. Whatever you want to call it. The Raiders are coming to Hoernemann Stadium this Friday night. Talk about what this game means to you now in your second year as coach at Tiffin.
Yeah, I mean, now we're in the system of just doing what we do. We're here and just, very, very proud of Ryan Lozier and what he's been able to continue to do. And then you look at all the young guys that were there and have taken their lumps, right, at Lakota. And again, maturation process happens. You're seeing these young players do, that aren't young anymore, who are stepping into their own, and they've got athletes all over the place. They're a load. They got some big guys up front, and they're doing a great job. I mean, you're not 3-1 if things aren't going right. So.
Yeah. So they started out, you mentioned 3-1, hot start for the Raiders, coming off a home loss though to Woodmore, where they were only able to put up 6 points against a stout Wildcats defense. Now, what can you learn from what Shane Staker and his staff were able to do to shut down Lakota last week?
Well, they were physical up front. They took advantage of some things. Again, you watch that game, and I think, Lakota made some mistakes. And when you're doing that against a good football team, that's not a mixture for some good things to happen or great things to happen. So again, we have to. I think what Coach Staker and what Woodmore did is they controlled up front. We want to do the same thing, and we want to take advantage of controlling the ground game and giving ourselves an opportunity to take some shots when we can. But they've got athletes all over the field. They're stout. They've got some guys in the top leaderboard of tackles and things of that nature. So
yeah, they
could
got
be a long night.
They got some dogs on both sides of the ball. Now, weapons on offense, but I think it starts with Jalen Wagner. Now, we don't know his status for this game. At least I don't. I haven't heard anything. He left the game early last week with an injury. Now, how do you game plan for this one, not knowing what you're going to be going up against?
First and foremost, I hope Jalen's okay.
Me too.
He's been injured, I think, at least some part of each of his seasons. And he's a player. And he's smart. And
he really is.
And he does a great job. So I hope we get to see him. Just because you got a little connection with those kids, and they might not like Coach Lento left them or whatever, but you still wish the best for all of them. And so I hope he's good to go, and if not, it's a quick recovery. But you got a tall drink of water that's going to come in there with Nick Elkert, at quarterback, and he kind of came in against us last year, and he was tough. I mean, he was tough for us, and he elongated some plays, and so he's got the ability to do that. I mean, he's 6'5", so he can see a lot of things. And he's got weapons all over the place, so we got to make sure we're ready to go.
One of those weapons is Nate Grigson, just a load to bring down, averaging 9 yards per carry. Now, what are some of the things that you got to do to slow him down on Friday?
He's tough.
Yeah.
I mean, he's tough. He runs hard, and he's fast. So, again, we have to control up front, but we got to make sure we are coming to balance. We're able to get him tackled, and it might not be the first guy, so we've got to get a lot of hats to the football and make sure we can contain him. Yeah, I mean, he has had a great first 4 games, and he even had some glimpses there against I know they didn't put a bunch of points against Woodmore last week, but he had some great runs. But we got to make sure, again, he's in front of us. We don't let him get by us, because although he's a nice, stocky guy, he's got speed and he's going to make it go.
Yeah, and talk about him on defense as well. Second in the SBC, 3.5 sacks on the year, 7th in tackles with 34. Now, how do you limit his impact in your offensive game plan?
They've got a great defense staff over there. And that's They brought Joe Wyant and those guys over.
Coach Wyant sat in that chair a few times.
Yeah.
He's probably watching right now, guaranteed.
It's just him and Glenn, and it's just great knowledge, and Ryan's dad does a great job, and we've got his brother-in-law still over there, so a little bit helping out. So much knowledge of football that they have, and they've got athletes all over the place to be able to do what they need to do. So again, we got to make sure we control up front. We got to make sure we take advantage of it. But they're gonna blitz us, and they're gonna make sure that they try and contain what we're able to do. So we got to make sure we know what we're playing with our eyes up. You hit what you see what you hit, and do those things, and just fight for 3 yards.
Yeah,
and and it sounds so simple, but we got to make sure we keep the game simple. Keep it simple, stupid.
It sounds so simple though, doesn't
Right.
it? But it's easier said than done.
It is.
Now, this is going to be the last time you guys face the Raiders for at least the foreseeable future, because you're going to move into the N10 conference next year. Now, is there any chance of seeing this as kind of like a non-conference game in the future with the connections you have? Or if not, talk about what this rivalry's meant to you from both sides of the aisle.
Yeah, so, I mean, one thing we want to do, at Tiffin Calvert is keep our Norwalk St. Paul, rivalry game of 2 small Catholic schools that have 11-man football in Northwest Ohio alive. So we were able to. So that game's going to be week 2. We were able to pick up Lipsick week 1. So again, two tough teams right in a row going into the N10.
That's a nice first 2 games to start out.
In that aspect of it, but yeah, I mean, obviously, especially if Ryan, Ryan's over there, would love that. It's not too far of a trip.
Yeah.
In that aspect of it, but yeah, I mean. That doesn't cloud of what the mission is, and this is going out to execute, the entire 4 quarters of what we do. And there's a lot of things happening. We got Biddy cheer night that night. I think our cheerleaders got 90 little cheerleaders going to be out there, and then
I didn't even know you had 90 kids going to Calvert. I'm joking.
And then we had a football camp this summer. And so we're inviting those little football guys in. They're going to come into our locker room and hear the pregame speech, and then lead our guys out. So a lot of things are happening. Lakota's 3-1. They always travel well, so I'm expecting them to travel great because of just the team that they have and what Coach Lozier's done and his staff. So it's going to be a great Friday night football game. It's going to be great weather. I think it's going to be the hottest game we've had, from at this point.
Week 5, and it's the hottest game of the year so far.
Yep.
Makes no sense. Crazy weather we're having, though.
Yeah.
Now, I want to talk about Hoernemann Stadium. What kind of an advantage do you get playing there? I mean, what does it mean to you to play in such a beautiful facility on Friday nights?
Yeah, I mean, the partnerships are great with Coach Donaldson and Heidelberg to make sure we're able to get Friday night games. And so that's one thing that we looked at is if we would have stuck with our Saturday night games this year, playing at Frost County now, that's 3 Saturday night games this year, and then that would be 3 Saturday night games next year, just because of how scheduling works out, right? And so if you've got a junior right now that wants to go on-campus visits or game day visits, that's 6 Saturdays you take away from that student or that student athlete.
Yeah.
So that was one thing that kind of came into it. And then, I think I play it on Saturdays, and if you have to play on Saturdays, you play on Saturdays, but Friday nights are meant for You know,
really are.
Meant for high school football. So was very grateful of our administration, very grateful for our kids to kind of take a look at that piece and go there. And it was cool. I mean, 2 weeks ago, didn't go out the outcome we wanted, but Heidelberg guys are down there, watching the game. So that's just a neat process.
That was really cool.
Being on campus. And then I always said it was tough to coach there, because there's nobody behind you as a visiting coach. Mm-hmm. There's it's silent.
You don't get your you don't really get the home. You don't get your away crowd support at all.
No. Now I think Norwalk St. Paul and those did a great job. Kind of keeping the energy going, but that's all on our side.
Yeah.
And at that point as a coach, you kind of tune it out either way. But so that could be a little bit of an advantage, but it's a cool place to play. Frost is a great place to play too, but it's just special to be able to play Friday nights, and it just makes the recovery process better.
Yeah,
from a
100%.
Saturday to a Friday and all those things. So just very grateful for that process.
Absolutely. All right, Coach, what's your message to Seneca Nation?
Listen, we appreciate all what you guys do. Our boys feed off the energy. Our girls feed off the energy. Our band, our cheerleaders, everything that you guys do, we feed off of that, right? So continue to keep it positive. Continue to step behind us of all of our student athletes, and keep Seneca Nation proud, and go blue.
All right. Well, once again, this has been the Coach's Corner here at Benchwarmers Restaurant and Delivery. I want to thank my guest, Mike Lento, for joining us on the program once again. Thanks to Greg the Wizard Kinn for keeping us locked in and loaded. And thanks once again to all of you for tuning in. If you've made it this far, please do us a favor. Share the video. Like, follow, subscribe. That all helps us. But please, share the video. Help us reach new audiences. That's going to do it. Once again, this has been the Coach's Corner, brought to you by Xcaret Mexican Restaurant, Your Legacy Federal Credit Union, Drawn to the Surface Tattoo and Piercing Studio, and our friends here at Benchwarmers Restaurant and Delivery. Have a great night, everybody.